Hello and welcome to the Caithness Amateur Dram Antique Society tasting. And tonight I'm going to do a tasting of from a distillery which I've not had an awful lot from, perhaps a couple of independent bottlings in the past. But this is from Rothes. It's a Glen Spey, and specifically this is an AD Rattray uh, Cask collection, Glen Spey, 21-year-old, cask number 5980, matured in a sherry butt at 59.2%. And I wanted to do maybe a couple of distilleries that aren't featured very heavily in tastings. Glen Spey Distillery is quite a small and quite an obscure distillery, but it does have a rich and quite an intriguing history. Over the years, it's shared the town of Rothes with four other distilleries. So there's Glen Spey, and then there's the four other Glen Rothes, Glen Grant, Speyburn, and Caperdonich. Glen Spey's production is relatively modest in comparison to those others, and explains why it's gone relatively unnoticed for such a long time. It started its life in Rothes as an oatmeal mill. Its founder, James Stewart, was a corn merchant before he branched out into whisky. It was founded in 1878 with James Stewart simply adding the distillery equipment to the building. In 1887, it was sold to the London-based Gilbey Company, and despite a small fire in 1920 and an expansion in 1969 to 1970, it went about its business relatively uneventfully for almost a century. Most of the spirit produced at the site was used in Gilbey's Spey Royal blend, and there were no real official bottlings. In 1962, W&A Gilbey and Company merged with United Wine Traders, the owners of Justerini and Brooks, who were responsible for the production of J&B blended whisky. In 1970, the number of stills were increased from 2 to 4, bringing the distillery's production capacity to its modern day level. Under that merge, Glen Spey became a major part of the J&B blend, and it survived a series of corporate mergers in the late 20th century, finally resulting in Diageo obtaining the site. 2001 was an important year in the history of distillery, bringing the first official bottling, a 12-year-old released as part of Diageo's Flora and Fauna range. It's also got the distinction of being the only Rothes distillery to boast a ghost. And the story of the ghost dates to the Second World War, when a soldier posted at the distillery was tragically electrocuted in an accident, and it's said that his spirit still roams the site at night. So it has a relatively small capacity, standing at 1.4 million litres a year. It draws its water from Dooney Spring, which lies nearby, which has proved controversial in the past, as it's shared by several other neighbouring distilleries, which not only drew water from the spring, but also discarded hot water that had been used to cool their pot stills into it. Nowadays, there's tight regulations on the temperature at which water can be disregarded at, and so it's softened the cause of this conflict between the distilleries. So Glen Spey has two wash stills with a capacity of 12,000 litres and two spirit stills with a capacity of 7,500 litres. Both the wash and the spirit stills have a lantern shape with a constricting neck, which causes reflux, which increases the efficiency of the stills and allows only the purest of alcohol vapours to pass through. And the stills are also fitted with a purifier, which acts as a mini condenser, increasing the reflux of the pot still. And today, Glen Spey is one of only two other Diageo-owned distilleries, Glenrothes and Strathmill, to use purifiers. The maltings used in the production of Glen Spey nowadays are sourced from one of Diageo's industrial sites. It did use its own maltings until 1969, when the site went through an enormous reconstruction, and the maltings used are unpeated. And during that extensive reconstruction between 1969 and 1970, the buildings that had once been used as the distillery's maltings were converted into a racked warehouse. Most of the neighbouring distilleries used dunnage warehouses, which motivated the management of Glen Spey at the time to use an alternative method to set themselves apart. It's aged in a combination of bourbon, sherry, and hogshead casks. So Glen Spey whiskey, Glen Spey's released only a handful of official bottlings during its lifetime, with the first one appearing in 2001. Today, the only official bottling released is a 21-year-old. The 12-year-old of the Flora and Fauna series appeared in 2001 and was used by collectors as a replacement for an official bottling. Independent bottlings are slightly easier to source, and they also offer a slightly larger age range. Douglas Lang has released a 15-year-old, Duncan Taylor a 22-year-old. But today, the primary function of the Glen Spey distillery is to produce single malt to be used in the J&B blends, of which it is a significant component. So this whisky tonight, I've got a 5cl miniature purchased from Hard to Find Whisky, which do a variety of miniatures, and that allows you to try a whisky without committing to the price of a full bottle. Perhaps not entirely cost effective if you love the whisky, but then if you don't, then at least you've not spent a ton on a whisky you don't particularly like. So this is an interesting one because the label says 21-year-old, but my detective work suggests this was distilled on the 6th of December 97 and bottled on the 26th of September 2018, making it a 20-year-old by my arithmetic. It was matured in an Oloroso sherry butt, and that produced 556 bottles. So let's see where we go with the Glen Spey 21-year-old. First thing that strikes me is it's very pale for a 21-year-old, 21 maturation or 20 maturation in a sherry butt. It's not particularly dark in colour. So this one's at 59.2%, which is not you do wonder, that's if you lose, I don't know, 0.25% a year, and they bottle at 60, but they put it in the cask at 64, say, you'd expect it to be quite a bit lower than that ABV for a cask strength whisky. But it's got lovely tears on it, really nice tide line and nice thick viscous tears. And it is a nice nose. It's herbaceous, and there's layers of barley. And that's all balanced by soft poached stone fruits. There's creamy layers of vanilla and oak. cooked apple and drizzles of honey, quince, thyme, and vanilla and almond. And then you get the brown sugar, the sultanas, and the nutmeg. And there's like a freshly mown grass and ginger ale. Gets quite flowery, a lily of the valley, Easter lily. And that develops on lemon juice and grapefruit. A bit of parsley, it's very natural, and I like this nose a lot. Let's try them out. The sherry comes a bit more to the fore here. Get roasted aromas and sherry spice. It's a blend of thistle, cloves, and a hint of lemon zest. Summer berries and a robust oak. And you get the indulgent notes of Rolos and creamy milk chocolate. Green apple, peach, and tarragon. It's grassy with sweet red fruits and toffee. It's quite a lemony attack. Lots of fine sugar too. So a nice surprise, this one. I suspect the cask has been a bit active, so the distillery really shines through. It does get quite bitter. There's like lemon seeds and grassier. It's a stare, but it's very enjoyable. And what tears are on this? Absolutely fantastic tears. And at the finish, you get a touch of salted caramel with buttery oak towards the end, and drying cinnamon and nutmeg nestle beneath that. Exotic fruits mingle with Mediterranean herbs, lingering and sweet with black tea. I'm going to try a mill of water in this. Which will probably take it down towards about the 50% ABV. Should leave it for a bit longer with the water, but when you're doing a review, you kind of don't want to keep you hanging on for half an hour. So let's see where we're going with this. And again, you get that roasted aromas and the sherry spice, and that thistle, cloves, and lemon zest, and the fresh, grassy notes. And you get almonds and caramel, and Mirabelle plum appears, and fir resin, and acidically fruity. Try them out. It gets a bit more oily, nutty, sharp lemon juice at the forefront. That's accompanied by grassy undertones and a touch of warming ginger. And that presence of tannins adds a slight dryness which balances the tartness. It's sweet and dry at the same time. White fruit, caramel, vanilla, and a soft wood. And you get a touch of salted caramel joining with the buttery oak towards the finish. and you get drying cinnamon and nutmeg nestling beneath that. And you get exotic fruits mingling with Mediterranean herbs, lingering and sweet with black tea, and slightly woody. It's a short finish with water. Spices come back in the mouth as well as slight dryness and raisiness. Uh, this is an exceptional whiskey. It's got fantastic complex layers that dance between fruit, floral, herbal, and mineralic notes, especially on the nose and palate. The finish is only slightly down from that high level. Thanks for listening.